You've got to sleep and you've got to train that bit harder than any other kid. And my dad had me boxing and running cross country before he really got me into football. Boxing for my feet, to toughen me up, to get my feet in the right place, to move them about, as you know, which is a very important thing. He was miles ahead. And plus to toughen me up. And that's the way it went about. And that's what I'm trying to say to you about a very insignificant thing, but a kid needs to know those good habits right from the very start. And then you find out the ones who will go on with that. And then you've got a real chance with them. Because they're the ones that really want it. And listen, we know the fatality rate's 98% of all kids that want to be players in England. There's only 2% ever make it. And what's needed to be one of those 2% is having ability, natural stuff, that a ball will come to him and he can just do things. And you've seen kids like that. Then others are a bit harder to work with. So you've really got to drill them and drill them. But they can't do it unless their body's right and they get to these good habits. What does everybody say about a kid? A kid in life, if he's got the right parents and he's got the right manners at 7 years of age, you've seen the man. You've seen the man. If a kid has been brought up correctly and he's not got the manners or anything, you've got a problem all your life. And he's only 7. Football, young kids are exactly the same. And the top coaches, we all know the drills. We all can read books. We all know how to put things on. The top coaches pick out the little tot who you've got to close your eyes and think, what's he going to be like in another 5, 6 years? Then you've got one up here who's shaving when he's 11, and they're different. They're different in their minds, and they're different in the way they're growing. And when they come to you to work as coaches, yeah, but sure, I think the drills are easy. It's how you as a coach look at that boy and say, I'm going to improve that boy. I'm going to improve him in his head, in his habits, in his living. I'm going to improve him with his weaknesses. But I'm going to improve his mind. And I've got to get inside his mind to make him better. And they're all different. That's as big an advice I can give you as a coach. Because believe you me, when I managed Premier League players, they were all different. Every single one of them was different. And I had to get into their heads. And some were easy.
And that's do that. Sitting down and talking to them, or
well, working with them, watching their reaction. You know there's some players you can get a big stick to. All the managers in the world love me because they could get a big stick to me. I could take bollockings all day long. And I'd just go, all right, fine, I'll show you. And then I put it right because my father, from day one, was a gentleman who knew my father. My father would not accept anything short. Don't sell yourself short. You know, you work harder, you've got to get better. Never give me any praise at all. So I was easy. But the fella next to me had to have, come here, you can do it, you'll be all right. Forget what he's saying. He had more ability than me, but I was easy to handle. And every kid you see will be different, and you can get the big stick to some and make them climb another little mountain, and another little mountain, and you walk away with a smile on your face, and you're being tough with that kid. And the next one comes along, different kettle of fish. And as they get older, imagine now. How do you manage now in the Premier League? You've got different religions. You can't just go in and have a row anymore. You're treading on eggs. You've got Muslims. I've nothing against religion, but they can't. They like there are certain religions in this world who can't lose face. But that's an excuse in football, so you can't bollock them. So how can you be a manager coming into half time? Oh, can't boll at you. You? Come on. But it's laughable, but that's the way it is in England now. That's why we're getting all these coaches from England are all simpatico. Everything is tranquilo. No more than our man who's running the big team. We have done all right. They've just been beaten by Ireland. We were okay, not very good tonight. We will put it right. Imagine being a footballer and going in and knowing your boss is never going to boll at you. That's the only problem we've got with England. We've got some talent for this World Cup, but they're not a team because they can boss the gaffer.
You think that's what Beckham had from United?
Yes. Yes, the big story is he came in with his boy and he brought him in on a bike and the bike was in the dressing room and Fergie's come in, like, they've all gone out training, so when he's gone he's pulled him. So this isn't a crash. Because your wife's living in London and you're living up here and you're sharing the boy, don't bring him in here. This is a workplace. And him being probably as big or bigger than Fergie, has had a chat back and can't do it. No. But coming back to you know, everybody's an individual, and you as coaches have got to sort that out. That's the most, I would think, the bigger thing in your coaching life is to be good enough to suss that person, and then you can fit that into your work that you're going to put on for them, and then how you handle them and get to them in their brain.
You mentioned a bit about strategy, right?
Yeah.
And that used to be when I played things like that.
Yeah.
It was always you psychologically got over the bloke
Yeah.
you're in opposition
Yeah.
with in midfield or wherever you were.
Yeah.
And then you start to join in to create problems elsewhere.
Elsewhere, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now with the game being so tight, and now I presume you don't get that so much now because people are all over the park, aren't they? If you understand.
In the modern game,
you
no.
don't look for a player here or.
Well, because the game's not open. That's how, you know,
Yeah,
it's dead
so-
tight. So everybody, you know, that's why you see ridiculous challenges
So you're
going
looking
in
at
and rush
areas
stuff.
of pitch now, aren't you?
Yeah.
Rather than.
Yeah.
So you just say, I'm going to dominate my little area, and that's whoever comes into it.
Yeah, you're still,
it's a lot harder, isn't it?
you're still mano a mano though.
Yeah, it's a lot
as you
harder.
start, you know, I've got to outplay you to start with. But it's in a tighter area.
Does that mean you play more zonal?
Yeah, yes, they do. Yeah.
And yeah, like John was saying, they're particularly in zones over the.
You can do right. Okay, you can this wonderful game of football. Okay, that team that won the World Cup. Okay, back four or back five. I always call them a back five because your keepers. If he's not in touch with these four, they're a back five. Ball, Charlton, Peters. Who was the holding rule? This new Styles. We were doing it 40 years ago. The holding rule was Nobby Styles. They're going on about Chelsea Makaleli, the new way of playing, holding rule. Makaleli. We were doing it 40 years ago. Styles, us three in front. Jeff Hurst, Roger working off him, down the channels. All around the side and down the channels. And if you look through that team, everybody played to their strengths. The classic shout from Alf Ramsey. Jackie Charlton made his debut and he was 29 years of age for England. And in front of all the players, Jackie Charlton said, he was an absolute fantastic guy. Very open, very honest, wonderful, wonderful man. And Jackie Charlton just said, could I ask a question, Alf? Alf said, yes, Jack. I'm 29, he said, and you've picked me for my debut for England. He said, nobody could be more thrilled than me. He said, but why now that I'm 29? And Alf said, Jackie, he said, I've got a pattern of play in my mind which will suit my team. So consequently, I don't always pick the best players. But he knew that he had the best second centre half probably in the world at that time, in Bobby Moore, who could read and see and come in front of people, come behind people, come around and come up. Just had a... Bobby Moore used to say to me, Bolly, I can't run, so they say. I can't tackle, so they say. He said, I'm shocking in the air, so they say. Why am I always in the right place at the right time? Because Bobby Moore came out with the most fantastic statement. He said, the fastest thing on the pitch, Bolly, is your brain. He said, if you've got 2 yards in your head, you don't have to be quick. So Alf Ramsey knew he had this fantastic player. Right? So what he wanted was somebody who needed a boot on his forehead, who'd head everything, and every time the ball went down there, they'd just swap over, Jack would go the back stick, any cross would come over, he had to attack it. He didn't mark anybody. Jackie Charlton never marked anybody. Jackie Charlton was told to go and attack the ball from corners, free kicks, and don't say, where's he gone? You see them now, they're all holding each other, pulling each other in, this and that, the other. Jackie used to get in a position to say, right, I'm going to head that ball. There's nobody going to beat me in the air, and I'm going to head that ball. Simple, but brilliant perception from your manager or your coach, which Alf was both. So he had the top man who could get it down, could play, pass it, come out, play long or short, Bobby Moore, spot danger, and he had this fabulous guy, 6'4", who was brilliant in the air and would just win anything you wanted, wherever you wanted to go.
Do you have a pattern play yourself?
Sorry?
Do you have a pattern play yourself? Do you prefer a long ball game?
No, I was the fulcrum of most things with Everton in the middle of the pitch. But I also knew getting very technical. My father taught me the option game. And the option game, to put it simply, how my dad said to me when I was 15, 16, he said, the goalkeeper catches the ball, Alan, probably 40 times, 50 times in a game, or he'll get a back pass, or he'll come to him here. And then his fullbacks are expected to get wide, and he'll throw it out to that fullback. That's his first option. His second option, he can roll it out or bowl it out in if there's somebody through the centre of the pitch. Or his third option is he can boot it. As that ball's caught and goes out to that full-back, of one of his 3 options, that full-back needs 3 options. As the ball's coming to that full-back needs his winger to go away, come back so he can pass that to him if he wants. He wants a midfield player to come in, and if he's free, he can give it him. But if his full-back brings his marker in and he's too tight to mark, he's made a space in behind so the full-back can drop it into a front man to come on. That's his 3 options. Now, as you as a midfield player, you've come to give him his first option. I'm here for it. If your defenders come and mark you tight and you can't get it, you go, okay, I can't get it, but I've made some space in behind there. Hang on, I might just get the next one because the centre forward might need an option. Now, he needs 3. Which one is me? I haven't had that one. So now I might get the next one. So as the ball's gone into the centre forward, let's say Jeff first, then he needs me peeling off to give him an option if he controls it. He needs a ball, if the ball's coming in, he needs the fella he's playing with can give him another option with a little flick round the corner for him. Right? And he needs wingers. If he comes in, he's on his own, he needs wingers. Wow, in behind the fullback, he can go and hit that ball in there. There's his 3 options. And then let's say he gets the ball into the winger. Right, Jeff Hurst, by this time, I've gone past him as a midfield player. And the ball comes in, and it ricochets about, and I go and side foot one in the net. I've gone to make 3 options 3 times and not got the ball. I put it in the back of the net. That is the option game. And I played that all my life. If I didn't have the ball, I give somebody an option to give it me. And if I had the ball, I was wanting people to give me 1 or 3 options, what I wanted to do with it. And my dad always said to me, don't take 2 touches, son, where 1 will do.
Coach, that's your play.
Pardon?
The options.
All the time. At top level, they picked it up fantastic. Especially, the 2 best I ever worked with at it was got Georgie Kinkladze at Man City, and a lad at Southampton who's the most talented lad I ever worked with, a lad called Matt Letizia. But all my dad used to say, and he simplified it by saying, and I'll say it all to you, how many times in your life you goalie catch it, there it goes, in a game. That's the start. And then your options start. And if you're constantly doing that with, you know, some of the Arsenal football at times, you're thinking, wow, but it's not, because it's runners giving options to the man who's receiving the ball. And to answer your question, I went, wow, Dad, that's great. But you have to be fit, because you're always giving options to people all the time. And the most beautiful thing, it happened for me one game, after about 6 months, I tapped the ball in the net. And my dad was watching me, he said, that was your final option, son. But I wasn't even in the build-up, because I've been giving people options and they haven't used me. But by this time, I was in the box. And I played over 800 games. I got just short of 200 goals, you know. And not many of them were headers. But plenty were tap-ins. Plenty were tap-ins. So I was a 1 in 4 man as a midfield player, which is a good ratio.
Did you enjoy your Arsenal days?
I love my Arsenal days, yeah. I was treated fantastic.
Yeah, I had a good chat with John Cartwright. I work with him now.
John, yeah.
Yeah, he's
Good man.
And who was your best? Did you play the same role?
Well, they won the double in 1972 and they bought me. I was the icing on the cake. That's all they thought. But I played at Everton and I've been playing with England. I was the fulcrum in the middle of the pitch at Everton. We were the School of Science, they used to call us. It was Colin Alvin, myself and Howard Kendall. And the 3 of us could do, funnily enough, we all went on to be managers and coaches. We didn't have a coach in Harry Catterick. He just ruled us by fear, so we virtually did it ourselves. We had a fantastic trainer, a lad called Wilf Dixon, who got us as fit as you'll ever get, but tactically, you know, not as aware, as good as he was as a trainer. Harry Catterick never took 1 session in his life, but was a fantastic manager, bought very, very well, put the round pegs in the round holes and said, right, go on and play. So basically, we weren't coached, but we were all switched on. And again, the option thing, and everything came through us 3 in the midfield, because we were very strong in that area, the 3 of us. And then I got sold to Arsenal, who'd won the double. And the way they played, they got balls up to Radford and Kennedy, and everybody filled in. They got the balls out to George Graham and Geordie Armstrong, balls in the box, and Kennedy and Radford very, very strong. And they won the league. Plus the fact they had a terrific captain in Frank McClintock, and they were really well organised defensively by Don Howe. Right, and they won so many games, 1-0, and everywhere you go in at Arsenal, when I went to them, everybody just sang, lucky, lucky Arsenal. Or 1-0 for the Arsenal, or 1-0 for... But that's the way they were. So I went there, and I had the toughest year of my life, my first year, 1972, because everything went over my head. I went short, the options, give me the ball, no, we won the double this way, up to Radford and Kennedy, and I just had argument after argument, and I kept saying, you can't, teams will suss you eventually. If you've only got 1-dimensional play, that's getting up to Radford and Kennedy, fill in, balls wide, in. I said, they'll eventually suss you. You have to have another way, another option, thank you, another option. So let's drag it into me now and again. I'll hold it, I'll give it back, then get it in, then, you know, can join in different ways. Or let's play it through there. Especially when you get into Europe and you've got to change it a little bit. And I had a really tough year, my first year at Arsenal. And they wouldn't, and quite rightly they were saying to the coach, what are we changing it for him? I said, I don't want you to change. I said, just use me as an option to go, to get where we want to go in a different way. But to convince the players, I had, you know, the dressing room's a tough place to be. The pecking order in the dressing room is, well, you know, you've got to scrap for your life in that dressing room. And I just had rounds and rounds and rounds. And I had a real ordinary year the first year at Arsenal. And I was playing great football for Everton. I couldn't believe they sold me. I mean, imagine you going into your manager and he's told me I've been sold. And in them days, players, you were subservient to the club. You were subservient to the fans. You did as you were told. And you were sold when they decided to sell you. Not anymore. And I've gone into him and I said, okay, you want me to go? It's a British record transfer fee, isn't it? He said, yeah, it's £220,000. I said, I'm your captain, aren't I? He said, yeah. I said, playing all right, mate? He said, yeah, you play well. I said, it doesn't add up, that, boss. And I went through him again. He said, I bought you for 110,000, son, when you were 21 years of age. He said, you're now 27. We've won silverware at Everton. I've had you for 6 years. He said, I'm doubling my money. He said, football's a business, son. That's the first time I realised money was involved in football. Because he couldn't have sold me on the things I was doing. I was playing for England. I was a captain. It was a British record transfer fee. I was playing well for Everton. We were in the top half of the table. And I was called in one morning and I was gone. How do you feel about that? But that's the way it was in those days. But that was the first time I realised that money was starting to creep into English football. And now it's gone mad.
And how good was Malcolm McDonald for football managers?
He was fantastic.
I would only use that all Queen's right now.
Malcolm MacDonald, again, we're coming about coaching. Again, coaching's all about getting the best out of players. I mean, if you're getting the best out of youngsters, you're getting the best out of yourself. And you get the best out of youngsters, as I've said, with your drills and everything, which I can't teach you. You can see them you go watch. There's not a lot new, put it that way. There's not a lot new. I've seen the Brazilians train, I've seen the Dutch train, I've seen everybody. There ain't a lot different, believe you me. There's not a lot of drills that you wouldn't know, if you understand what I mean. It's how you get them over, and how you get them into the heads of these kids, and even older players. That is the big secret of coaching. You getting the best out of somebody. And in doing that, you get the best out of yourself. It really is important that you don't play games, but you're getting into the minds of youngsters and get into their minds in a different way. You get into Tom's mind a bit different than Dick's and Harry's, because they're different kids, they're different sizes. That's you being that's you being tops at your job. And then you've got that mind, and then you say, your feet aren't as good as yours. So you work on his feet a little bit more than his. And you put him in drills, give him more drills. Don't go on to that. You stay on, the next group, you stay with that group and you work your feet more. Yeah? You work your shape more. Your running shape. Because if you can't run, you can't play football. And if people have got a bad gait, and there's only Chris Waddle I think I've ever seen in Letizia, then they get the ball and they're brilliant. But 9 times out of 10, everybody's got a good conformation, and that's the first thing you spot in a kid. And then you work not only on his feet to master the ball, you work on his running. And if you don't know how to do it, just go and ask a running coach or something, and you'll pick it up off him. And he'll show you how to look for it and put little sessions on with these kids to just, and we know it's boring for them, but if you don't do it, it's like, as I come back to what I first said, if you don't do it, you've got a bad-mannered, ill-mannered child on your hands. But he might be a cracking lad, he might, but he's not been taught the basics of football. The basics of football is shape and movement, and master that ball. And don't do anything else until they can master that ball, and then you move on to something else. So the boring part of it gets when you do repetition. Then you've got to get. That's where you work their mind. And that's what you get it into their mind that they cannot move forward. Don't teach them a trick before they can't control it. In other words. And once they can do that, you can move on to something else. Because my dad said a fantastic thing to me when I was a kid. He said, a ball is like a woman, son. if you don't boss it, it'll boss you the rest of your life. How simple is that? But that's that isn't it? That first touch. How many times you see it on the telly? Oh, first touch was poor. First touch. Premier League. Now, if you get that kid's first touch, boom, as soon as it comes, any angle, anywhere go. Don't teach him about the angles just yet. Get it on square, and then you can always just teach them their angles, just to shift their body a little bit. You've got to master that ball first. Master it until, you know, off the wall. We did it in the backyards, didn't we? We did it in the backyards. They don't do it anymore. We did it, keep you uppers with your mate, with heading it. You know you've all done it. You mastered that ball, you could do it. You could flick it about. As a lad, I had a paper round. I couldn't have a bike. My dad said, no, you're not having a bike, son. I said, but they've all got a bike, Dad. No, you run. Because the faster you run, the lighter that bag will get. And take your tennis ball with you, your best pal, and flick it against the wall as you're running, because then you won't think how hard it is running. Just flick the ball. And I play games with that little tennis ball every day with my paper round. And the reputation as I finished in football was the best one-touch control player that a lot of people had seen. But where did it come from? My father telling me I had to master that ball. And I had to be ready at 5:30 every night when he came home from work. And he took me out with a ball that big and a ball that big. And we had the little ball first off the wall, under cobbles. I lived in a cobble street in Lancashire. And I had to let it drop, and then I had to go and get it, and give it him back. Couldn't pick it up. I had to get it off them cobbles and flick it up and give it to him. And religiously he came home for me. And I thought, well, if he's coming home every night for me, I'm going to do what he wants me to do. And it stood me in great stead all through my life. And there were times when balls used to come to me and I thought, this is the devil, because I'd done it thousands and thousands of times. In the backyard, on the cobbles. And there's no shortcut to mastering the ball. And as coaches, that is your most important thing. Don't move on until you're confident that they can do that. And the basic is controlling the ball, as you know. But it's dead easy to go on and show them tricks and all that and make things great from. Yeah, do that right at the very end of the session. Have like a 10-15 minute fun thing if you want. Let's see you do. Anybody got a trick for me? No, and have them laughing and this, that, and the other. But the next time they come, get back to the basics. Anybody else? Anyone else?
Do you think these days is the tendency to overcoach and sort of knock out the organisms completely?
Not if you've seen what the boy's good at. If the boy's a dribbler and he can go by people by dribbling, what's he doing when he's dribbling? He's mastering the ball, isn't he? So then it's your job to say, well, he's good at that. Now, Bobby Charlton could run and dribble and go past people. I couldn't do that for Bobby, but Bobby couldn't pass it as sweet or get people in or see things like I could see them. And Bobby Charlton couldn't tackle. Alf Ramsey used to say it's what he thinks it's what you go fishing with. So we didn't ask Bobby Charlton to tackle. So who did we ask to tackle? Nobby Stiles. Nobby Stiles was happy at tackling because he had a technique of tackling. Because his coach had spotted, this lad loves tackling. This lad loves defending. So you nurture that. You nurture that. I'm coming back to you spotting a young boy, his strengths. One, can he hack it? Can he handle a telling off? Yeah, I'll do that, and, you know, or others will go. You know, they're all different. They've all got different abilities. You as a coach have got to find that out. If you don't, you won't improve them. And what did the great Didi say? Remember the great Didi, the great Brazilian? All left foot. They said to him, well, here's one of the greatest players in the world, and he only uses his right foot. He said, because I was taught to make that better and make that all right. So basically they were saying, this kid's got the best left foot. Saying, how good's that if we keep working at it? But we've still got to make that a little bit better. And as I say, Bobby Charlton, Nobby Stiles was the man. Wherever Bobby Charlton went in the England team, coming back to tactics, Nobby Stiles went in behind him. So wherever he was, wherever he lost it, was a big hole. So Nobby just came and filled the hole, so we were still a 3. And he would be the first person where that ball was to go and try and win it back again. How simple is that? Because football is simple. It's only complicated by footballers and some coaches, may I say, who are trying to put all these fancy stuff in your head. Terry Neal came to Arsenal, and I listened to him for half an hour, and I never listened to as much crap in my whole life. And he thought he was trying to impress us with all his fancy stuff. I just looked at him and I thought, you have no chance. I couldn't have him at any price. Probably the only one in my life I listened to as a coach who went, what is he on about, this fella? Because I've been brought up with simplicity. And every manager knew me. Every manager knew me. They knew that I could take a bollocking. They knew that if they said it, that performance today wasn't up to you, you looked a bit jaded today. What's the matter? On Tuesday afternoon, they'd all gone home. I'd be doing 10 of them, 15 sprints for myself. I'd be in because they knew me, because that's the way I've been brought up. Yet the fella next to me, you could say the same thing to him. You wouldn't see him. You want to do an extra. And that's, you've got to find the strengths and then develop them and make their weaknesses better. And then you as a coach are doing your job. You are improving people. Not only in their minds, but in their abilities of what they've been given. And you're just, as my dad used to say, just polishing a little gem. You polish it until it's sparkling.
Do you think, Alan, because of the pace of the game they're playing now in the English League, that and I'm talking about the English League as opposed to maybe the Italian Serie A, that the first touch to me doesn't seem as good as it was perhaps a decade ago?
It isn't, but and it ought to be, because the game's condensed and it's quick. Because it's condensed, so your first touch is so important that it's paramount now.
Is that why the coaches then spend more time sort of players getting them fit and yet getting down the bases? Because as you said, if you talked about the England team, there are very few game breakers as such. Whereas if you go to and watch an Italian game, it seems slower, but in actual fact
but
it's
they'll cut
not.
your throat quicker.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also the first touching, we're talking about the space. They seem to always have space.
That's right. Yeah. But the English game is all about. It's been. The English fans won't enjoy a slow game. We're known in our country as high tempo. That's why the foreign lads come and they go, what's going on here? Because they're not being, Arsene Wenger, he's had to learn so quickly over the years. And the French boys he's brought in are technically fantastic. But when it comes to that, when it comes to in your face and everything, ooh, they don't like that. They don't like that. But that's when the real people with the touch, in and amongst all that's going on, because it's not a slow game, the foreign lads playing at their own pace. And indeed, sometimes it's harder to cut people's throats when it's slow, because people are set. They don't get dragged about a bit as defenders. But if you've got somebody who, I saw a ball played last night on the television, fantastic ball, Espanol lad played it, De Silva. He's going this way, he's just gone, and they've all come across, and he's gone in behind, and they won 2-1 with it in the Spanish Cup. That type of thing is top class. top draw. Top draw. But it is played slower on the continent. It's like slow, and the last third, they just go and they can do you dead easy in that last third.
That's the detriment of the team, isn't it? Because when we talk about the European Championship or the World Cup, that's when England, they always get through the first couple of rounds, and they come to that last 15, last 8, when it's played at a different tempo, a different stage, when they're found lacking. Do you think that the squad, the team that they have now for the World Cup, that we have players capable of actually maybe taking it forward?
Yeah. If they play them in the right position, Sam. David Beckham is as good a passer of the ball as I've seen, both dead ball and when it's in movement. But he's got this fancy idea in his head that he wants to be the quarterback. Right? If he was with Alf Ramsey would say, David, you will play on the right wing or right side, and you will deliver the balls in as far up the pitch as you possibly can. But you will sacrifice what you want to do for England. Because people through the ages have given themselves up for England in wars, never mind playing for the country. You will play there. Because that is where you're best. And he can deliver from there. And the lad he plays with him behind Neville, they've played together since they were 15 or 16. They'd be fine up there. They will create up that right-hand side. But he doesn't want to be that. He wants to be the number one, the big chief, the quarterback. And he tells everybody that's the way he thinks he's the best. And he's David Beckham. Multi-millionaire, going into a World Cup, being told he's going to play on the right-hand side. All of a sudden you've got a big chief, not too happy. You've got Gerrard and Lampard, none of them want to sit, but they have to be told, you're playing for England. You have to sacrifice your ego, and one of you sit, the other go. Then the other goes and the other sits. It's just talking and working at it. But they're not too keen on that. So you've got three of your big guns who are a little bit, I want to be the top man, I want to be the big chief. And when you get through to the quarterfinals, all of a sudden you are beating the best in the world. Right? Now they've been playing in English football after the top four, and the rest are shocking. Believe you me, shocking. And all of a sudden these lads are playing against teams who have maybe 1/2 top quality players in the team. When you get through to a quarter-final of a World Cup, you've gone from there. The leap is like that. And then you're playing the best. And if you ain't right, if you haven't got yourself set, your team set, if these players are not on the same wavelength and are prepared to sacrifice to what they're good at, then you'll get turned over. And that's what's been happening with England over the past 8-10 years. We've had some real good sides, but they're never quite together. And the more money they're getting, the more powerful they get, Sam. And it's so hard. I've been there. It was only 4 years ago I got the sack at Portsmouth. I've been there with top players. They're murder. They're murder. It's so hard for a coach's point of view to get to them. They get into this comfort zone. All of a sudden, they're not the hungry fighter you had 15 years ago. Well, in our day as well, hungry fighter. You were a hungry fighter. Even though I had a great living, I was still a hungry fighter to the day I put my boots up on the peg for the last time. They're not anymore.
So how do you get to guys, so you bring that back down to the level here that we're talking about, how do you actually make somebody, take New Zealand for example, up to the 16 we've got the highest number of players playing the game, and I really believe that there are New Zealand players who are capable of actually cutting the ice. I mean, in Australia you've got over 800 players playing professional football in Europe. And there's no difference between the quality of players up to the age of 15 or 16 in New Zealand than are here. But how do you engender that passion, that desire? What's the coach? What is it? I know you get into their heads, but in some ways, because the society as such is actually taking the passion and love away from the game. I mean, we read the media and we read a superstar, he doesn't get his own way, he wants to transfer. And we want to do this. We hear in our leagues, I mean in Auckland, and I'm sure it happens here in Wellington, the guy plays for the National League team, he's offered for the second division team, plays him extra money, and he leaves. How do you sort of, in your knowledge, how do you get players to actually stay and take responsibility and become accountable? Because I'm sure that there's a lot of coaches here of good players. They've had them maybe from the age of 8, 9, they've looked through the club, they come to 15 or 16 and they're looking forward to when they're going to be young adults, and then suddenly somebody comes, gives them a couple of grand or something else, and they've gone.
Right, I'll give you a classic example. It's no different in England, Sam. It's no different at all. Theo Walcott just left Southampton at 16, right? And when he becomes 17, he can then have a man's contract, as you know. But at 16, it's still a schoolboy's contract. So they've sold him for just short of 10 million to Arsenal because he'd have been able to go for nothing and only compensation at 17. So it's still the same in England. And that's talking about the top, supposedly. I don't think he is, but that's the top kid in England that Arsenal have gone and poached. And Southampton have had him since he was 10. I coached him when he was 12. But nobody could tie him down at 17. And Southampton couldn't give him the monies that these big clubs just go and cherry pick. It won't change, Stam, all over the world. And you know you can have a kid in the academy from being 7 at Southampton. When he leaves school at 14, right, then another club can cherry pick him. But the other club has to be within an hour of where he lives. So they made that rule, so it cuts it down. But when they're 16 and they leave school, then it's an open market, so to speak. So it's no different. No different whatsoever. All over the world. And kids and mums and dads are as bad. If you work with kids, you know the problems you get on the sidelines at games, mums and dads. They're teaching them, they think far more than you can do on that particular game when they're playing that particular game. And then all of a sudden, they don't get to the kid. The kid will stay at his football club until the time comes when he's not wanted or he's that good, he'll go. He won't go in and ask for a transfer. His mum and dad, they go in and see his mother and father. Jobs have been given. Houses have been bought. Houses have been bought for parents, Sam. All of a sudden, talent, just all the morals and all the things goes out the window. But you've done your job. You've done your job, and you say, if you lose a kid, you go, well, I hope the next coach goes on and improves him as much as I've done. I'm satisfied. I've been part of that boy. That boy hopefully will never forget you. And as coaches, that's when you've done your job. If he stays with you, fantastic. I had a team at Portsmouth. My first job was youth team coach at Portsmouth, and we lost the first 6 games. And the manager called me and he said, your results are poor. I said, I've got 3 players for you. He said, what? I said, I've got 3 players for you. I said, I don't want to win games. I want to produce players. No point in me winning games. First team have got to win games. I said, I'll produce you players. He went white. He said, nobody's ever said that to me before. So I ain't bothered. I said, I don't care if I don't win a game all season. If I see 3 of these kids playing in your first team, I said, I've done my job. I don't want to be the best youth coach around. I want your job eventually. I'll only get that if I produce players. And I got his job eventually. And I produced players. I produced sick notes. Dan Anderton. 14 years of age, I saw him play in the local league. I had him in my youth team, in the team that kept getting beat. 3.2 million, I think, Spurs. And he was a good player for you, wasn't he? A real good player. And a good player for England too. That was just one. Darryl Powell, I signed him. He went and played for his country. Sold him for over £1 million. We went through there was, in football, by the time I finished, there was 70 kids came through that Portsmouth thing. That's when coaches are doing their job. They're not winning matches, they're producing players. And that's another thing that parents can't understand. I want them to win. I know they'll be competitive because they're kids. But as a coach, I want to see each and every one of them improving. I want to see little Jimmy, who couldn't get in my team last year, in it. And then he gets into his school team. I've done my job and I'm dead proud of that. I'm not bothered about winning every game to prove myself to anybody. I'm proving that I can coach kids and I can improve them and I can make them better. Even if it's just to get in a team they've never been able to get in before. That's coaching. That's your satisfaction, and you're a proper coach. And then when you find out one special, how far you can take him before somebody takes him off you, and then you just go and wish him all the best, and hopefully the next coach gets him as good as you. And you might find he might have to come back to you because he won't be able to understand what this other fella's on about. Because he might not have got into his mind. He might not have been the coach that you are that understands what he's good at and improve them for him. That's coaching for me.
You ever worked with Ronnie Greenwood?
I didn't work with Ron, no.
No, he's just passed on.
He passed away, yeah. I didn't. He was just, the lads say he was fantastic. Jeff Hurst and Peters and Bobby always had a great word for him, yeah. Yeah. Alf Ramsey was my father was my mind man. And Alf Ramsey took over from my dad. He had a fantastic way of getting the best out of everybody. Because he put you in a position where you were comfortable. Because he asked you. The strangest thing he ever asked me, he said, can you play centre forward? I said, what do you want me to do, Alf? He said, well, obviously not win balls in there. He said, we're playing Spain in the European Championships. He said, they've got two centre-backs. A lad called Zocco and another lad, I can't remember the other lad's name, but he said they're both over 6 foot, but they're very immobile. And I want you and Joe Baker to play as a pair, coming off these two, with runners going in behind them because they're slow as well. He said, and with your feel and your touch for the ball, he said, I think you'd be perfect to play centre forward for this one game. And then he said, do you think you can do that? And I said, yeah, I can do that. If that's what you want, I don't have to go chase balls in the channels and things. No, no. So I want things into your feet to build from you, then we'll get runners in past you. So he played Colin Bell with me that night. Colin Bell was just a straight runner. I came off that night, into feet. Colin Bell was in behind. Joe Baker was doing the same up the other side. 2-0, we won in an absolute canter. But I never played centre forward again for him. But he asked me, could I do it? And it suited me the way he wanted me to play. He knew what my strengths were. That's coaching.
What about Don Howe?
Don Howe didn't work with him. No, I didn't. I joined Arsenal. He left in '72, and I came. Bobby Campbell was my coach there. He was a good coach. Queen's Park Rangers. He was a good coach, Bobby. Yeah.
Alan, can I ask a question about the 1970 World Cup and that memorable game against Brazil?
Yeah.
And could you perhaps talk about the differences of the England team in that game and the Brazilian team in that game, and what really determined the result? It was the two favourites.
It was brilliant. Brilliant. It was the best game I ever played in my life. You get all the cup finals, all the champion games, the World Cup final. This game was it was a 12 o'clock kick-off in the desert, and we lined up and we walked out together, and these lads, as they were Jairzinho, Tostão, Pelé, Rivellino, Cladwaldo, Gerson, Carlos Alberto, just one after the other, they come out. What a team, what a team. But they respected us. We were the world champions at the time, and I was part of an absolutely incredible game. And the game was won by absolute sheer brilliance. Brilliance. And our goalkeeper kept us in it with an absolutely brilliant save. I was telling Sam last night, the ball, the right foot, what was he called? Santos? Carlos Alberto.
Yeah.
The big lad who got the fourth goal in the final. Yeah. He played a ball, Terry Cooper was in line with him, the winger was here, and he was dead level with him. He wasn't here to bend it inside Terry Cooper. He was level with them. And he was running with it, and he's bent it, and it's gone and bounced and got in behind him. He put that much spin on. Of course, Terry Cooper tried to win that one in there. Once it's bounced and done him, Jairzinho was on his way. And he's got the bar and he's knocked it across. So Banks had to come to his near post, and then he's gone, oh shit, it's going there. So Banks is at his near post, correct position. Then he's had to go, get it, and up and over, which was just an incredible save. That was brilliant. And then at the other end, the goal was a foul. If you ever see it again, the ball's going into Tostel, and I was going to nick it off hed, and he's elbowed me as blatant as that, right in the face. Okay, and then he's played it to Pele, who's just gone, and he's rolled it to the side, and Jairzinho was buried it in the other corner.
Before he was out of position.
Just brilliant. Well, he dragged him in. He dragged him into it to just make that little gap up there, and he's come in and he's finished it. We were a match. We were a real good side, England. Then there was about 6 of us out of the World Cup, 66. We'd all got 4 years older. The young ones, I mean, Peters, Hurst, myself, Nobby. And we were just a little bit older, a lot more experience under our belts. We were a real good team.
You at the bar and that as well?
I hit the bar right late on, and Jeff Hassan missed a sitter. It should have been a draw.
That's right.
And the fact that it wasn't, we had to then move out the desert and go to up to altitude and play. And I still believe to this day, the fact that we went up to altitude done us.
Played the Germans.
Yeah, because we were 2 up and cruising, absolutely. People say about Alf making the changes. No, he was resting Bobby Charlton because we were through virtually to the semi-final. And it was just a spooky game. And we saw the goal last night. The ball's come in, Sailor's gone like that. It's in the back of his head, right in the other corner. But the game changed with Bonetti. Banks should have been right that day with it.
Food poisoning.
Yeah. But there wasn't a lot in it. Right, the 2 teams, it was a privilege to have been part of that game. If you ever get a chance to see it, you will see some football play. And we kept the ball better than them on the day. We really did. It was a fabulous game of football.
All the 70 World Cup, all the games.
Yeah, it was a great tournament. Hard to play in the heat, as you can imagine. But that was a privilege.
Bobby's tackle and...
Yeah, he waited. Yeah, waited and waited.
Sam was mentioning about players going up, 16, 14,
Yeah.
things like this. There's also we get players going over to England, and maybe our environment, the Kiwi kids are just not different mindset, but there seems to be very much in the youth system anyway in England. Pro clubs are very much of a dog eat dog,
But it's life.
Yeah, I know, and I don't think the Kiwi lads are actually.
But they've got to tough it out, haven't they?
And I think
nobody's ever got on anywhere in life if you're not prepared to scrap for it. So you look at that type of boy, and you know that type of boy would have a better chance in Europe than somebody next to him who's got more ability. But he's not quite as much ability, but his mindset is there for travel, there for the tough side of life.
See, football here is mainly played by middle class as well.
Yeah.
We don't have a class system as such, but it's that way fine. Whereas, I should imagine, still in England, you've still got the working class.
Well, the hungry fighter, yeah.
Yeah, who comes through.
Yeah.
Maybe that's one of the reasons.
That's a big thing in life, isn't it? The hungry fighter. Always the one you want to be on, isn't it? And it's the same, but it's changing in England as well.
Is that why the Africans do so well, do you think?
Yeah, because they're hungry. They want to better themselves. But as soon as they get a bit of money, in all fairness to them, they tend to go softer on you quicker than they're normal because they've got something, they've achieved something, they're massive back home, and you know, I've had a few of the black lads, and they, don't get me wrong, they're terrific lads and they've got fabulous ability, but because they've come from real poor backgrounds, once they get that type of money, you'll find that they're hard to handle then. But it's the same anywhere in England now. All the kids have got laptops, all the kids play football on machines. It's the same everywhere. Please believe me, don't condemn the Kiwi kids for the, it's the same in England. But it's the ones who've got that desire, that drive, that want it so bad. There's plenty of them. Because they will get their opportunity. And in England now everybody's grumbling because they're all buying these foreign players and there's no room for kids to come through anymore in football clubs. So that's another problem that we've got. So that's why they've quieted everybody down by building all these academies. So they can say, oh, your best kids go there. And you know the best form of improving is putting you in with the big boys. As I say, when I came back from the World Cup, and I walked in the dressing room at Black, because the World Cup finished 30th of July, the season started the 15th of August. So I had only a fortnight from the World Cup to go and start playing again for Blackpool. So I went up the Lake District for a few days, came back, right, and I got told that I was going to be sold. But I went into the dressing room the next day to do some training before it was fixed up for me to go see. And I walked in the dressing room, and what was his name? Pat Quinn, a little midfield player from Hibs, who come down to Southampton, Blackpool, who taught me so much. That little guy, you know, I'm forever in his debt, and I haven't seen him for years and years and years. But I was a sponge. I picked stuff up, and he said, "You've no knock, Sam." I went, and I've just played the World Cup final. Don't forget. He said, "You've no knock, Sam." I said, "Okay, I'm sorry." I walked out. I knocked on the door, and there was no answer. So I stood there like that. So I knocked again, and he said, "Come in, son." Oh, in I went. He said, "Don't ever forget you're no too big yet." That doesn't happen anymore. That doesn't happen anymore. These academies and the young ones and the young players are in another part of the building. But I'll tell you what, that learned me one of the biggest lessons in my life. The dressing room, the pecking order. You're not there yet. You might have been in the World Cup final, but you have your manners. You're younger. You know to come in here. Fabulous. That's what's missing. And that's why all those old-fashioned buggers who keep going on about things which we know were just absolutely fantastic and we could handle them. You imagine Rooney coming in, walking in. Get out and knock. What? What? So it's all changed and you've got to change with it. But don't lose or forget what has been tried and tested over years and years and years. If you can get just one kid into that mindset, and he's got ability and he's got desire and drive, you'll have an international footballer from here. Nothing will stop him. Nothing will stop him. And you'll have been part of him, and you'll be the proudest guy in the world. You've helped him right from the very beginning on the things we've been talking about. And you'll get so much satisfaction about him, and hopefully one day he'll mention you.
Something else, like we've just got a player just going forward, he's 31. Okay. So in some respects, never give up on players.
No, like developers, whatever, it's still there.
Because you tend to think, oh, the kid's not, they're 22, you don't see them anymore, or they're maybe in some lower league.
Yeah.
But you really shouldn't really give up on it, because there's always a chance of them through later on.
Of course, like developers.
Providing the right attributes that you put into
Yeah. But basically, I'm just trying to give you my views on you lads as coaches, and I hope you'll go away and think, I never thought of that. Just put a different slant on it from my point of view, to try and help you to go out and make kids better, because that's what, because when I started, I respect lads like yourself all over the world. I was in Barbados about 2 weeks ago, and I spoke to the coaches there, and they've got nothing. They haven't even got pitches to work on. They're all cricket grounds out there. They can have the side of the cricket ground, and these lads were so eager, so well, they were just fantastic, and they got no money for it. They just did it out of the love for trying to help these black kids who also got nothing. And they will produce players over there, but there's no structure whatsoever. And they haven't got a piece of paper to say they're coaches, so they just do it. You know, they do it. And I'm at this moment in time trying to get the Robin Russell in England, who's one of the top men, to say, can we get somebody out here to take courses and pass them, to give them some, all they wanted, these black lads, bless them, they just want a bit of paper to go around so they can coach. They haven't got anything. But they've got their own little coaches union just themselves that they've set up themselves. And I loved them. I chatted with them for ages. And I'll make sure that I'll get them sponsored to either go to England and get their badges or get somebody from England in there to get it done. And I will make sure I do that. I really will. Because they love the game and they want to teach the youngins. And that's why, with this education, I wanted to speak to you today. And I just trying to put things in your head. But you'll be your own man anyway. Be your own coach. Be yourself when you're coaching. But the little things that I've told you that I look for, the way I would go about it, just take them in and it might just unfold in front of you. Things I've said even, oh, Bowley mentioned that. Yeah, he's got good feet, him, and I can give him a bollocking. I know where I'm going with him. I know I'm going with him. I know I'm going with you. And it'll just might unfold for you. And then you know your drills and you know what to do, and then you put drills on to suit their strengths and their weaknesses. And more than that, I promise you, don't look to be a genius tactically and all that. It doesn't change. The game is catch it, let it go, there, option. Where did that ball go from there? It's simple. But the big part is you improving. Yeah, do the basics well. It's good habits. It's good manners, like a young kid. Good manners. You meet kids who've got good manners, you meet kids who haven't. And if you turn a kid round who's got bad manners and you turn him around and have good manners, well, what a job you've done. And that's all teachers do in schools. Some are impossible. Some are impossible. You never give up on them, you know, but you get to it another way. Where you might be the only friend in the world, the only kind one in the world, because you might even get a belt every time you go home. You never know, do you? But when he comes with you, he might be surly, there'll be a reason for it. He might have a good home life, or he might be struggling at school. You just might have to just have a little chat with him and find that out, and then, oh, come on, then enjoy it here while we're doing this. You're a good little footballer. And you just might turn him round, and all of a sudden, when he comes with you, he's a different kid. But then you're doing your job. And you'll feel better.
Alan, did you have any other phases of play which were options from? I mean, you mentioned the goalkeeper, which is a great one because he does have the ball probably 40 times in a game.
Yeah, more.
And we all did free kicks and corners and things like, and throw-ins, etc. Wondered if there was any other phase of play where you worked your option idea in developing it, sort of.
Yeah, especially for front players. Being a front person, midfield player myself, a creative player myself, I devised this is technical now. You've asked me a question, so I'll answer. I devised a code on the pitch for my players, my front players. Right. And the code, because if you didn't shout a name, leave it, over, whatever, it was a foul. Right. So I devised a code and I put names to it. Nick, Jack and Sid. Right. So I used Jack as a lead ball. If I shouted Jack to you anywhere on the football pitch, that ball was coming to you. If I shouted Jack to you, you left that ball totally. Right? If I shouted Sid to you, that ball come to you, you knew I was going to come and take it off you to switch the play, change the play for you. You just leave a bump, and I'd be coming from here or here, out of your sight. As it was coming to you, Sid! Oh, there you go. I'll be on it. How did it go? And Nick was anything that came to you, just nick it, move it on. Now for front men especially, it was brilliant. Especially that the wingers got the ball, keepers caught it, out the full-back, the wingers run away, come back, got it, turned, I've come to face up a front man marking me, in the ball comes to me, in and around the box, Jack, leave it, and I'm on my back. Right, and then you can use it within that phase of play. Then the next one, let's say Nick, I've told you about Sid, anywhere on the pitch, just, it was a take-off ball. I'm taking the ball off so you didn't bang into each other. Or, it was a take-off ball. Now the Nick ball was, when the centre half's coming out with the ball, he's looking, he plays it up to a front man, who comes, and you let him make the angle. The ball's coming up to him, Nick, oh, there it goes, round the corner. I know what's happening, so I've taken him away. Straight ball up to him, Nick, oh, here we go, into me. Then he might spin and Sid, boom, drop it back for him, out it goes there, and we're both in the box.
So you based it on calling?
Yeah. That was so brilliant with good players to see it work. The code that everybody knew exactly. You know, and balls would come up, it'd be a nick, and then as soon as he nicked it, he'd go, Sid! Oh, so then he'd just go, because he'd go up and he'd spin back in there, and out it would go, and the pair of them would spin in the box, the wing would get in it, and we'd be. But it was just something I devised because of the fouls you give away when you didn't call names. But boy, did it work.
And it was tended to be with a pair of strikers.
But well, midfield players. Yeah, midfield players. And I always used to have the hook runs. Like midfield players that say that it's in certain areas within the options. You know, when keepers have rolled a straight ball out and a centre half, or let's say Bobby Moore's coming with the ball straight at you. Okay, so I've got the marker, so I ain't going to get this ball. Right, and I'd hook, and I'd go, and then I'd hook round there, bring him with me. The other midfield player, go and do the same. Biggest space in the world, up to our front man. Sid, take it off him. Oh, just movement, clever things, putting things in people's heads, using a little code. It's just taking it on. You know, the senior players, they loved it. Even the likes of Letizia and that, he just loves all that. It suited him down to the ground. Because you want the quickest, but that shout gives you 2 yards. Because you know it. You can see the opposition going, who's this Jack fella? Where does he come from? And it was just a clever way of putting something in the options. And it's if you're working with older lads, it's great. But you'll have fun to start with because you know they'll get the names wrong and everything. You'll have a good laugh at it. But the senior players were just special at it, really. And I'll just put that in. But it was brilliant for front men. It was brilliant for front men because you know you can see it developing now. A winger's got it. He's looking inside. They're playing in. Centre forwards. Oh, in he comes. Jack. Oh, he's left it straight away. In comes his mate. Sid. Oh, back in again. Pick it off him. Ah, it was just wonderful. Wonderful. But that's what I you know, I just devised. The lads picked it up. It's not coaching as such.
No.
It's just being a bit clever or being a bit ahead of people to give you that extra yard or whatever, the room. You can always make room. That's the option. I didn't want the first ball. The option was to me the second ball with the hook runs. We both split out, the pair of us. Great big hole. Then we come back into it. The defender didn't know where you were going to go. You could come back in for the Sid ball. You know. Or if you carried on your run and it went up to him, nick it, and you'd be on your run, and he'd nick it round the corner for you, and you'd be, you know. It was all just making space, opening things, causing people problems, which is all about what it's all about.
You coach the youth teams, you're developing players. Do you actually say, well, when you put a team out on the park, you actually just say, well, he's good for that, that position's his strength, and do it like that, and then just let them play?
Yes.
Or did you have in your own mind some kind of tactical way that you wanted to respond?
No, defenders basically have to do jobs. Defenders, and you have to teach them the correct way to defend. Have you seen anybody jockeying lately? Where's all that gone? Where has all that gone for fullbacks to jockey people? They're flying in and giving fouls away. They're out of jockeying, aren't they? Shove them in a corner. Where are you going? Yeah. You know. I'll come back to it again. When I had my youth team at Portsmouth and we produced all these players that went on, Lee Sanford went on, they all played at a good level. Brendan O'Connell went and played at a good level. There's about 8 of that team went and played. We got beat by Liverpool in the semi-final, 1-0. But I wasn't bothered about that. They went on and played for Portsmouth. They went on and played for Portsmouth. So when I picked the teams, I picked them in positions where I wanted to get the best out of them, and I put pairs together because you have to have a mate in a unit. You have to have a mate. You come in pairs, strikers. Midfield players come in pairs as well, on and off and cross in and in. You know, fullback and a winger, and a wide man. Yeah, you can revolve inside and go on the outside of them. And I to go up from what I've been speaking to you about the young uns, I just carried it on to keep getting more out of them, to keep opening their minds out to more. I didn't work the Jacks, Nick and Sid with the young uns. I didn't work it with my youth team. It was when I went into with the big lads that I did. You know, because I wasn't bothered about them picking that up. I wanted them to pick up the basic stuff.
There's always a tendency when you put it down, the part of actually put out when you football three or two.
Yes.
I played them in. Honestly, I played people at right full back. I played them at left full back when they were midfield players. I said, well, I'm just going to show you so that you'll appreciate what a full back's got to do. It's only for 20 minutes and I'll swap it round. I wasn't bothered about winning a game. That's the difference at that level. I was making them aware what it was like to be a full back. And I used to, one of the lads, I'd go, oh, you play sweeper today for 20 minutes. And if he didn't play particularly well, I said, it's my fault. And I've asked you to do something, now you know how hard it is to play there. So appreciate people who play there. And you were getting it in their minds that you know, that you constantly making them think about their game and how to improve them. And then, when you wanted to nail them, they'd listen to you. And then the lovely thing is you finish up giving them praise, well done, terrific, that's great. You enjoy that at full-back, and some kids went and played great. They said, I enjoyed that. I said, yeah, but you're better in there, aren't you? Oh, yeah. But if you ever get in that position when your full-back's got caught upfield and you're down in there defending, you know what to do now, don't you? And how hard it is to stop a winger. Oh, yeah. Well, all of a sudden you have players who appreciate other things, appreciate the pitch, appreciate the players they're playing with, and then you've got a little gem on your hands.
What about all-round ability, you know, being able to play more?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a plus, isn't it? That's a plus, isn't it? But you'll find that he is one of the, not run of the mills, but one of the lads that will always get a living all his life because he'll be dependable. You can have him in your squad and he'll be terrific for you. But you'll have found out that when he was a kid. Because you just say, go and collect them balls. You'll see he'll go and collect them. One kid will go and run off, put them in a bag, bring them back to you, or 2 or 3 will go. If 5 or 6 go, you go, oh, I've got a good little group here. Little things you test them with. Pick the cones up now. Some will still be chatting, some will, you have to, all right. But you know, your kids, some will be off, won't they? They'll go and pick them up, right, and do anything for you. And you go, right. And that's, you start to evolve in your mind what you want for these kids because you find them out.
Would you like to just give us a comment on striker mentality? Because we had a famous player come through New Zealand, Winton Rufer, who was a great striker, and he had a very special sort of mental
Well,
attitude and
all I
that.
would say to you, they made Michael Owen captain of England the last 2 or 3 games. I think it was when he got injured, and that's the last thing I'd ever do would give a striker a responsible job of captaincy. Because a striker, all you want in your life is goals. Goals, goals, goals. Simple, single-mindedness. Yet if he's a person who can make things happen for other people as well as him get goals, if he can produce goals for other people, you have got a fabulous striker. But they have, first of all, to have that mentality. And I say to kids, I used to say to them, what is brave? And you say, well, we can fight and we're, not frightened of anything. I said, no, not on a football pitch it isn't. Bravery is missing 3 easy chances and then still going into that position to score, to try and score again. So you don't go, oh, I'm not going in there because I've missed 3 chances. Bravery is to go in the 4th time and finish it off. Bravery on a football pitch is to keep trying to hit that ball inside the fullback and it not getting there and the fullback sending it away, and then the next time it's not there again. Oh, my passing's off today, but I'll keep doing the right thing. I'll keep trying to pass it. I'll keep trying to open the box. That's brave. And to get that into kids, it's brave when things don't come off for you and you keep trying to do it. That's brave. And strikers are exactly like that. They're brave people because they don't stop scoring goals, they just run out of confidence. So they've got to have that strong mindset of still going into their areas, creating the chances for themselves, and then they'll start putting them away again. But yeah, if they find a partner they can work with and they can make goals off each other. See, I've never seen Michael Owen make a goal for anybody. You've got to make them for him. You can put them away. Teddy Sheringham would score goals and he'd make them for you. Make goals for other people. Alan Shearer, score goals, but he'll make goals for other people. But the out-and-out predator, like the Jimmy Greaves and the boy Walcott's exactly the same at Arsenal. He can't make a goal for anybody else. But somebody else is going to make them for him. But he's a striker. And that's all that's in his head.
Because it was interesting when you were looking at the old World Cup on the screen there, that 2 of the goals came from deflections from defenders having a shot being put in, and the defender then mishit it and it went somewhere else and it was put in. And the willingness to shoot seems to be a very critical
the old saying, if you don't buy a ticket, you won't win the raffle.
Absolutely.
So I'm a striker, go.
Perhaps just to take a moment, shall we, Alan?
Yes.
Alan's just going to be on the radio, expecting a phone call any moment now, so perhaps we have a break. We can grab a coffee through there. We've made them, and there's a pile of healthy donuts as well to rip into.
Great.
And while Alan's on the phone, I've got some footage, some goals to show you, and then I think we'll come back and maybe wrap up a little after that. So Barry is mine host.
A little bit by telling you a fantastic story about one of the best players I ever worked with in my life, Matt Le Tissier. You know, I explained how Nobby Sells and I were in the team with Bobby Charlton, and what Bobby didn't have, we compensated for it. So we had probably the greatest player in the world going forward, and we sat around. I had this kid called Matt Le Tissier, who no manager could handle. No manager had any clue how to get the best out of him. So I looked at him, and I thought, right, I'll do it. So I said, the team were all sat there when I took the job over, and we had to go. We were 3 points adrift. In March, I got the job at Southampton, bottom of the Premier League. We had to go to Newcastle, we were managed by Keegan at that time, on the Saturday, and we played Liverpool on the Monday night, a Sky game, at home. So those were 2 games. So I just said to him, I'm your new manager. I said, you'll find out about me, and I'll find out about you. But we haven't got time because we've got to get this club out of shit. Okay? We're starting on, so we can say we've got to go to Newcastle and Liverpool at home. So we've 9 games to play, but we've only got 7 really, if that's your mentality. Because you're not expected to beat them 2. So we can just make the numbers up, we've got 7 games left. Or you can go and play for your club and we might have a chance. But we'll have a chance if we get the best out of him. I said, you, Le Tissier, come here. Oh, he went like that. Because this was the most shyest, introverted lad you'd ever met in your life. Born in Guernsey, an islander, very, very introverted, and they used to slaughter him about his nose, right? Even his own lads in the dressing room, and he couldn't handle it at all. Couldn't handle it at all. So I said, come here. Right. I said, whether you lot like it or not, I said, he's picked every single game for me, because he's the best player in this club by a mile. By a mile. So we're going to get the best out of you, aren't we? He's a big lad and all. And he went, I said, but he can't tackle. He can't really run back to defend for you. I said, he wouldn't know what it is to work hard. So you're saying to me, well, why is he playing every game? I said, because he's the best player in here by a mile. We're going to get the best out of him. So we're going to play him from the halfway line to the edge of the box in that little gap. Right? And we've got to get him the ball in that little gap. And if you all graft, if you as defenders battle and battle and battle, and if you pass it into him in that area, he will make something happen. Won't you? Yeah. And that's the hardest part, I said. I said, Ian Dowie, I said, you'll play every game as well. He went, oh, no. He's at Crystal Palace now, at Flavour of the Month. As thick as that. But a great talker. He went, and an ugly one. He went, what? I said, you'll play as well. I said, I'll tell you why you'll play. You'll only play for me every game this season if you get me, because you're a big strong lad and you put yourself about, if you get me 10 to 12 free kicks round the box every game. And if you do that, you'll play every game. Do you think you can do that? Why? I said, because he'll score 2 and with a chance of winning. Because round the box on free kicks with Tissier it was a goal. It was nearly as good as a penalty. So Derry said, so they started laughing, the lads, like, you know. I said, now how simple's that? Right, we'll go and train. Cut a long story short, we went up to Newcastle 1-2-1. Le Tissier, free kick just outside the box. Derry got the foul. Hooper was in goal, beat them 2-1. Keegan was sick. I played with Keegan at England and with Southampton. My very first game. We went on the Monday night, Sky game. Within 35 seconds, he'd had one in the back of the net. Ball out the winger, check, played it inside to Le Tissier. Pew! Bottom corner. Grobler, never saw it. Right at the bottom corner. Beat him 4-1. Absolutely murdered him. And we were on our way. I never did one tactical training session. I just put him in that area. He got us 6 goals in those 9 games and we stayed up dead easy. Again, it's getting the best out of your players and identifying where they'll be comfortable, where they'll be happy to play. And that's all I ever. He got me 40 odd goals. He got 48 goals in 34 games while he played for me, Matt Mattis, before I went to Man City. He was just phenomenal, just playing in that area. And he was as soft as anything. I used to have to sit in the dressing room, take a big tin pot of tea and sit in the dressing room so the other lads wouldn't take the piss out of him. And because he was that soft and that nice. And they used to hammer him about everything. Birds, he couldn't pull birds or nothing. He used to slaughter him. And I just wondered, he used to come out to train and he used to be dead. Then I found out, you know, that the stronger ones in the dressing room, which I saw is a massive pecking order, used to hammer him. So I went in and sat and give them all a cup of tea when they came in. They sat in till they went out to change for training. And it took about a week before he never got any stick or nothing. He used to come out, he was in, you know, he hadn't had any hammer before he went out to train. Little tiny things like that you have to pick up on to get the best out of, you know, players, even your special ones sometimes. And it's just, I thought I'd tell you that little story about getting the best out of somebody that nobody had got anything out of. Hey, it wasn't rocket science on my behalf, believe you me. You know, I didn't know the lad at all, but I just thought he needs a bit of help here. Put him in the right position. If he does it, he does. If he doesn't, well, I haven't lost anything. And he kept us up. And he kept us up the year after. We finished 10th the year after. It was fantastic.
Guys, thanks, Alan.
we're probably about 10 minutes away from wrapping up, and there's an item I did want to show, which I'm not even sure Alan has seen. He has it, cotton onto it. And to get, of course, the comment. This is about Jeff Hurst's third goal, cross of which was supplied by Alan. And
you see how the colours have come on all of a sudden? Everything was black and white, wasn't it, in the real day? So we'll make things happen now, I suppose.
it's a little tricky to hear because it's only the laptop speakers, but it's self-explanatory. This is from a video clip I picked up in the UK a couple of years ago. But it's
Roger Hunt. That's
controversy about Jeff Hurst's goal, so it's good this was on I think Jeff Hurst's second goal is the sort of goal that you would get away with. The third goal seemed clever, and I don't think that was fair. The fact is, I happen to be sitting in the right place because I was extreme. This Russian rights effectively everybody's instantly trying to goal. I had the first idea. The interesting is when the ball hits the bar like that, to look at the spin on the ball makes the ball back again.
look at that, isn't it?
Right, now it's flat. I thought it was flat. This is how it is. It's flat. It's a yeah. So
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Russians are on the
You don't like it, isn't it?
So to clear up the issue for once and all, we asked the computer scientists to model the ball's flight. The first part of the answer is to take search for the mark before
It's over there, isn't it?
So having calculated the two-dimensional trajectory using developments to reconstruct plotted positions. Having done this, I've travelled out across the bar across the fly. At that point, it's just again because it's a light travels diagonally across the building and
Definitely.
just about 1 inch inside the line. What it means the ball must cross the building.
No problem at all.
So unfortunately, it looks like it's supposed to be I'm looking for it looks like was it on the main road?
so I don't know if you've seen that before, Alan. That was that they pulled it to pieces in a digital laboratory, and
Well, the whole of the ball wasn't over the line, but you can imagine from the angle, you saw the ball, it did that. It's come out. But three quarters of it was over the line. It was 4-2, wasn't it?
What's the record book say?
Get Jack there. Is there anything else before we wrap up, lads? Anything else you just want to throw at me for
Yeah, Alan,
quickly?
who's,
Yeah.
Who's the favourite for the England job? Foreign you. Or who do you think?
I want it to be an Englishman desperately because we know about our lads. You know the culture. I've been fortunate to travel all over the world, and when you go to countries, there is a different culture. There's a different culture here of people and the way they are. But in England, we know we're up in people's faces. We're horrible little buggers. We're an horrible race. We want to win. We'll fight anybody. 2 World Wars and 1 World Cup. We'll sing, and we're shocking really when it comes to confrontations. Now you get a guy in who doesn't understand that, which Sven doesn't, for sure. And quite rightly, they're a very nice race, the Swedes, they're lovely people, but they're very, all they want to do is shag really, isn't it? They're sympathic, aren't they? Yeah, and he doesn't think he's done anything wrong, you know, because he thinks that's their culture. So I would like an Englishman, and we've got some cracking young uns coming through. And everybody says, oh, well, they've not done great. And I just say, yeah, they've never had any money. Like Kirbysley at Charlton, he's done fantastic. With no money, kept that club in the top flight, done brilliant. Sam Allardyce, they give him a 10-year contract, done absolutely brilliant. With what I call beg, stealing and borrowing. Can't buy anybody, got to have the knowledge of bringing all them foreign lads in, you know, bedding them all in, as we've been talking about, and done fantastic. Stuart Pearce, young lad on the block, got all the passion in the world, just terrific. You know, needs a chance. You know, you've got Brian Robson, always had clubs that have had no money and battled around, and now hopefully getting what he deserves with West Brom. You know, there's so many of them. You know, there's Stevie Bruce again at Birmingham. These lads are good lads, and they all got that passion, and they all know what's right for England. Now, I wouldn't be averse to any one of them, but what really worries me is that the problem in our country is nobody gets any peace through the press and everything. And these lads shouldn't be expected to go and work with the top players, which is hard enough as well, to produce results for our country, and also handle the crap that they've got to handle with the press and the amateurs at the FA. So an older guy, Bobby Robson's gone there, somebody older, who could be a buffer between this guy, the young coach. No, he's a villain. You can't have him being a buffer to the press and the old men in the grey suits at the FA. You know, they wouldn't understand him anyway, mate. All right, Sam. Imagine him working talking to him. No, you need somebody, an older statesman.
What, Bobby Robson and somebody
Yeah,
else?
Bobby Robson and one of those lads, yeah. Trevor Brookings there, just shield this lad from, you know, let him get on with the coaching. I think we'll be fine. But I am worried, and only time will tell. If we don't win this World Cup this time, we'll never ever win it.
You think so?
Never ever ever win it.
Got the players, isn't there?
If they win it this time, they haven't got anything underneath. The under-21s can't win any games. There was an under-18 England side got beat 9-2 by Argentina about 3 months ago. Now that never happens. That was in England and all. Got absolutely murdered, and there was a furore in the country, and they kept it pretty quiet. And then there was a big to-do about what's happening to our kids. We've got all these academies and that. We ain't got any kids. We haven't got any kids coming through. That's right. We haven't got any kids. We've got a big problem in England. Never mind here, or anywhere. Massive problem. The production of kids in our country's gone like that.